was Kafka that said that about homeownership. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. Jeff, the Matrix. No one can tell you what it is, Jeff.
They can tell you what it isn't,
They have to show you.
It isn't a rom-com, evidently.
And then 20 years later, they have to show you again, but boring.
Yeah,
but
unfortunate.
One of the big, scary reveal images, one of the images in the Matrix that stuck with everybody for so long was the fields of human incubators, right?
Yeah, you got it right. Bald Keanu.
Bald Keanu, yeah. But not just Bald Keanu. Bald Keanu's little womb patch that he came out of. Everybody lives in a little weird womb.
A little womb patch full of goop. A lot of goop in there.
Little goop womb.
Yeah. Some ooze, some goop, a little bit of slime.
Yeah.
All of it mixed together.
That's just the recipe for a Matrix right there.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
But this idea of like fields of growing humans, like or like an exo womb, something like that. That's an image that really sticks with people, and it's an image that's used a lot in sci-fi. There was did you read do you ever read?
I read.
You ever read? Then you've seen.
I tried to. I've seen and I've read.
You've seen and you've read. I had something in my head and it disappeared. But there's a weird thing about it where
I think honestly that's one of the biggest reasons that people would want to get out of the Matrix. That notion is disturbing, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe we're in it right now. Maybe we're in a goopy exo womb right this second. You don't know. It doesn't seem unpleasant right now if I'm in the Matrix, if I'm in a simulated reality.
Sure.
But the knowledge that your little pasty little body is in all that goopy goops with maybe stuff stuck down your nose and throat.
Yeah.
Just that notion is pretty horrifying, I think.
It's a horrifying notion, but even if you remove the matrixy part of it, you think about something like a lab-grown meat or something like that. There's something that we have where we think about life being grown in a lab that makes us kind of go, oh, I don't know. Seems weird.
Except that's kind of my pet name for my wife, that we grew some life in the lab.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Yeah.
The old lab.
You call her the lab?
The old lab and chain, I call her. No, I don't. I don't. Please. My mother listens to this show now. I don't. I'll get back to her.
It's literally, I think it's literally the fact that it is an unnatural image, right? It is not the natural way. And so it is the actual definition of unnatural. But, Jeff, what if we grew a people in a goopy soup? All the time.
Oh, all the time? You mean
stop
using human wombs?
Yeah, like what if we just started using goopy soup womb? That old.
Why would we want to do that? It just
that old 50s. That old 50s doo-wop song, Goopy Soup Womb. You're my goopy soup womb. You don't know what I got. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. From the Bleach Boys.
Yeah. How would you feel about us growing some babies in some group? Not necessarily you and me, though.
Oh.
I
thought you were, we could.
We could talk about it. Like, I'm open to it. I want you to know it's not why I brought it up.
Okay.
But
I thought you were ready to take this relationship to the next level.
I do, but that's not why I brought this up.
All right. Okay. Different conversation.
It's the same conversation, but we don't have to have it right now. Okay.
So wait, I'm confused. This is to hey, I've been very close, as I mentioned. I've been very close to the lab during 2 childbirthing episodes.
Yeah.
And I will freely admit, she did a lot of work during those episodes.
Sure.
She did. There was a lot of
you got to do the work in the proper facilities. You got to go to the lab. There's no way. There's no other way to do it. You can't do it.
I can't do it. I felt bad I couldn't do it because it certainly was not a pleasant experience for her. I mean,
even Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the strongest and most politically diplomatic of us all, could only do it once.
Yes. That's right. That's right. Do you think his twin, Danny DeVito, would have been able to do it?
His twin in that movie was also his doctor. So no.
Yeah, I know. That was the big pseudo sequel.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
What if instead of somebody giving birth to them, they gave birth? Which is a wild philosophical place to go for a sequel. And I love it.
Flips the whole thing on its head.
I love it. Like, what's the natural inversion of 2 guys who don't look or act anything alike being twins? Oh, a guy giving birth to twins. What? That's the natural inversion?
It was a different time, Anthony. We had...
What?
It was a different time.
So you've watched, anyway,
I'm saying
you've been through it.
I've been near someone who's been through it. You know what I'm saying? Very close. I've been holding the hand of someone who's been through it. And I can tell you, as someone whose eyes were wide open during all of it, not pleasant. You know? I mean, obviously, a beautiful miracle that is also horrific in almost every way. You know, it's painful and it is difficult. So is the idea behind this to remove that stress point from the ladies?
Well, there's a lot of big ideas behind it, and one of them, I should say, first of all, this is new research about exo-wombs or artificial wombs that is coming from...
Maybe use a different term that's not so scary.
Goopy soup womb?
Yeah, goopy soup boop.
A goopy soup womb. This is from the Journal of Biomedical Engineering, and it comes from researchers from the Suzhou Institute of Biomedical Engineering in China. And they're talking about doing this because they have an insane amount of population dip going on right now. So they're thinking about a lot of different things.
And my understanding is when I dip, you dip, we dip.
Exactly. But no one's dipping.
Yeah.
But everyone's dipping. Do
you
know what I mean?
I dip, you dip, we dip.
There are population growth problems because China, for the longest time, had to limit their population growth, if you remember. And they did it in some really horrifying ways. But now they did it so successfully and economically and quality of life-wise, people don't want to anymore. They don't want to have kids anymore. And China's now going, what do we do? You look at a lot of, you look at places like Japan. Japan has a declining population. Even the U.S. has a slowing birth rate. So for these guys that created this new research, that's sort of where they're coming from. And I have to admit, that is the most dystopian place to come from. That is a literal Matrix place to come from.
True. Yeah. I mean, so it seems like a big leap to go, hey, we're not having enough babies. Let's just get the goopy soup boop out and we'll
grow a labor force.
Grow them. Yeah, we'll grow them.
We will. They are literally the batteries that keep our economy going. But they do say in this research, there are a lot of other situations in which exo-wombs would be incredibly beneficial. Think about people that cannot have children that right now have to use surrogates or a lot of very expensive in vitro things that can be like very, very, there's stuff that can really mess with the child giver's body when you're doing these IVF treatments or when you're doing these, like, it's a lot, man. And it can be really, it can do a lot. I've had friends that have gone through IVF and different fertility treatments and things like that. And it tires you out. It does things to you physically.
It's rough.
It's expensive. You think about people that people that are able to conceive, but for whatever reason, have issues, biological issues that make it hard for them to carry to term. All of these things could be used. All these situations could be helped and alleviated with an artificial womb. And this new research this is wild. It's about an AI robot that's almost a nanny. They're calling it a nanny, sort of. But what it does...
And it carries your child too?
Yeah, it's kind of an AI nanny that can change and look over the womb in real time. It has the labor-intensive task of observing, documenting, and manually adjusting things like carbon dioxide, nutrition, and other environmental inputs into the womb to make sure the child is getting exactly what it needs.
And does it look like a giant space robot octopus thing with multiple tentacles and needly looking arms and a bunch of eye sensors? Because I saw that part of the Matrix. I saw that part.
They're called squiddy bitties. They're old ladies that are also squids, and they watch over the babies. And they are robot squids, and they do wear adorable candy striper uniforms and hats.
Well, as long as they have the candy striper uniform, nothing that wears that can be bad.
It's all very Ted Chiang. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like there's two very divergent pathways here. One is this crazy sort of mass solution of, recharging the populace or repopulating a country. And the other is, hey, let's help folks that are having a hard time conceiving. Where's the technology on this? I mean, are they talking about this being something that is possible now? The idea of an exo womb, a goopy soup womb?
The goopy soup boop is predominantly theoretical and sort of
horrific.
I mean, they're working on the AI. The AI can theoretically look over this stuff. Obviously, they are not allowed to experiment on wombs and embryos very easily. That's not something that's that people are
talking about China, right? Maybe they can.
They can easier than other places, but still not. You don't just start off at embryo. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't understand why we're starting off at AI. If we're able to grow baby in the goop, don't we start with growing baby in the goop with human overseeing it before we let the robot? We just don't want to be involved in any way with the humans.
Baby in the goop, the fridge on top. Here's what it does. The idea is when an embryo is inside a human being, that human being can and does react to the embryo in real time, whether it's a conscious reaction, I'm hungry, the baby's hungry, whether it's an unconscious reaction, a change in body temperature, things like that. This is all stuff that happens. In order for somebody...
That's why you need to start at the AI level, is because you need it. You need the sensors to be working like a real human mother would.
Jeff, have you ever owned a very complicated aquarium?
I have not.
Or known anybody that has owned a very complicated aquarium?
No, but I have a wife.
Right, the lab.
Children. Yeah.
Here's the thing. One time, when I was living in Brooklyn, I was out at some bar with a bunch of people. We got totally blitzed. It was 4 a.m., which is last call in New York. And this guy that we had just had a couple drinks with was like, I live nearby. I got beers. Come on. Which I
can't wait to see how this relates to having a baby. But go ahead.
So me and my group of friends were like, hey, you know what? Even if this guy's weird, there's one of him. There's 7 of us. Let's go.
Yeah.
He says he's 2 blocks away. And he lived in this big part of it was Bushwick, which at the time was sort of turning into a neighborhood where a lot of warehouse spaces were being turned into apartments and stuff like that, but it wasn't quite there yet, right? It was early gentrification days for Bushwick. So this guy lived in this big warehouse space. And when he went in and turned on the lights, it was like a pretty normal looking apartment, except on the far end, giant fucking aquarium. Like giant, like a hotel, you know?
Yeah.
Like one of those aquariums. It's like, I mean, this thing was like 6 feet wide and almost like floor to ceiling. And like, I looked at it being just like the drunken nerd I was. I went, aquarium. And he went, he went,
successfully labeled it.
Yeah. He went, oh shit. Yeah, man. Are you into aquariums? And I was like, I think I might be. I think I might be. Tell me all about your aquarium. And he started talking to me about it. And he had a saltwater tropical fish aquarium. Beautiful fish. Amazing. Giant aquarium. Tons of them. Different species living together. And he started telling me about it. This was like 2010, right? This was a million years ago. We just got smartphones, you know?
Yeah.
But he already had an app and an interface and all this stuff to control his aquarium. Because the aquarium, he was like, dude, if it drops even a degree below where it's supposed to drop, half my fish die. Some of these are like $100 fish. I've got to like have a pump that like looks at the amount of saline and puts the saline in. And like if it's too much or too little saline, half the fish die. Everything ends with half the fish dying. This entire thing. I was like, how much time do you spend on this aquarium? He's like, all of it.
There's no way that this dude does not do cocaine.
Right? Oh, listen, we definitely got high, but he didn't offer his coke. He was definitely a dude who had a lot of money and not a lot of friends and got high all the time and just tinkered with his aquarium. And I respect the hell out of it.
Sure.
If that's the life that you've decided for yourself, I want that for you. But listen, Jeff, not everybody has the free money and time to sit around and tinker with the aquarium 24 hours a day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So in this analogy, the aquarium is the goopy soup boop.
It's the goopy soup boop.
Not everybody has the time to sit around and worry about the next generation of human beings that they're growing.
And even if somebody did, you know, I'm sure there could be one person that's overseeing all of these things, but you want to be sure that, you know, say you're growing 50 human batteries. Do you really want one person manually looking over 50 human batteries? Or do you want
hire more people, couldn't we?
Yeah, but like how many people per human battery, buddy? Then at a certain point, it's not worth it. You're not getting enough power out of the human batteries.
Using women again.
Yeah, and it's like we want to be able to do this to the point where, listen, if somebody fucks up, how many times have you fucked up at work? I fuck up all the time.
Right. 1 degree up or down, we lose half the fish.
We lose half the fish, dude. And so you want an AI to look over it. And it's kind of interesting that this paper got published recently because remember, like 2 weeks ago, that idiot Elon Musk started a whole thing online, a whole discussion about population collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the wealthy people immediately went to lab-made people. They were like, well, what if we made lab-made wombs? It's like, you don't want to fix living conditions for like, it could be very easy to just fix living conditions for us. And then we will want to procreate. And they're like, no. We'll just grow you. We'll grow you in the goopy soup boop.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of humanitarian reasons to want to do this.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay.
Like I said, there are couples that can't conceive. There are people
in those situations.
There are people that have, you know, for whatever reason have not been able to carry a child to term. You know, or there are people that they just can't, or they don't want to. Or hey, what if it's a couple or a family unit or a person that just it's two people who are unable, who are just unable to have children biologically.
Yeah.
Should they be
I think that's a completely different conversation, right? That's why I was talking about those two divergent paths, because of course you want to help folks that if there's any piece of technology that can help folks do that. I mean, I have friends that have had a really tough time conceiving or can't, and it's heartbreaking, right? They try all these different things. Anything that could help in that situation, you'd think, well, that seems like a morally and ethically positive thing to do. But then the other divergent path is your Matrix situation.
Yeah.
And it feels like we can't have one without the other.
I mean, I hope that we can, as the technology becomes more mature. I hope we are able to think about it and sensibly regulate it and use it in a responsible way. The problem is it's technology that's very new and is progressing extremely quickly. 2019, the Institute of Zoology in Beijing took a fertilized monkey egg all the way to the organ forming stage in a synthetic uterus. That's the first time a primate embryo has ever gotten that far. I mean, organ forming is pretty far along in the process.
And then it failed, or they pulled the plug?
It did not work. It got to organ forming, and then they could not figure it out. And that's why they kind of want this AI. Is they're like, if we can figure this out, if we can have an AI that's watching and learning and understands, not only are we able to create these exo wombs and make them not just more efficient, but successful and then efficient, but also we're going to learn a lot about what life, any kind of life that comes from a fetus. We're going to learn more about what that needs at every stage, which could help us understand more about the development of life and let us understand more about, like, maybe we can solve some of these things that cause failures in pregnancies, or genetic things to happen, or physical things to happen to a child within the womb. We can be like, oh, we know that they need more nitrogen at this point. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but
right. It's interesting. Have they thought about this problem, though?
Go on.
I think of a synthetic womb and this exo womb, and I say to myself, I don't think I want to have sex with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know where babies come from, but I've had 2 of them.
The article didn't say.
Yeah, no, I've had 2 of them, and I'm here to tell you.
Stork.
Gotta have sex with something.
Cabbage Patch.
No, you actually...
you have sex with a pie. Like it's funny, and your dad walks in.
So I'm telling you that they have a problem ahead of them of who's going to want to have sex with the exo womb,
Well, I'll tell you this, from my point of view, it's been a long pandemic. Have not been getting out in the world as much.
Right.
What does the exo womb look like?
Little goopy soup boop isn't so bad.
No, it's very, this is kind of interesting because, okay, number one, yes, who's going to have sex with the artificial wombs? Thank you, Jeff, for bringing that up. And then
you're welcome.
Number two, there are other things that we're just learning right now about, okay, microbiome in children that have vaginal birth versus a C-section birth.
Right.
Totally different microbiome.
Completely. Yeah.
We're not entirely sure why. Right. Something happens when they go down the fun slide, something happens.
Right.
So what happens to a child that is grown in one of these? I mean, listen, there's some sort of reason. Israel tried this too with a bunch of mice. They tried to grow mice embryos. All of them got about halfway through, and that's about as far as they went. There are things that don't happen for as much as that we don't know.
Right.
There are things that we don't know for as much as we do, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and you speak to any mother or any parents for that matter, and you talk about that 9-month period where gestation is happening and the mother is carrying the child. There is a bonding. There is a there is a two-way communication that happens throughout that process. That is, I think, essential is a strong word, but certainly beneficial to the growth of the child. That, we've done stories on this show about children, embryonic children learning in utero through audio input that they've gotten, that they're hearing, that they're experiencing in late stages of pregnancies.
Recognizing different voices, knowing when people are nearby, hearing favorite music. Like, we know all this stuff happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's a Brave New World situation, and if you spin them around when they're in the Goopy Soup Boop enough, they want to be astronauts and pilots.
Oh, maybe you can just program them.
Yeah.
This just play the right inputs.
This just gets ethically better and better. I'm into it. Tasty ethics.
But I think what we're getting is you need to build a full robot lady.
Go on.
That, like, what's the Nicole Kidman movie where she's a Stepford wife? Maybe one of those.
You're going with the remake of the Stepford Wives. Okay. Yeah.
I am.
Okay. Yeah. My mind immediately went to the Electric Grandmother.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you remember the Electric Grandmother?
I've never seen the Electric Grandmother, but I also feel like generationally difficult for our purposes.
Well, are we talking about this is
Does a robot that
this is a robot that carries, or this is a robot that is like there?
Well, I was figuring up all of the above, right? If we want to have gestation period in the Goopy Soup Boop, you gotta have it all. One stop shop, Or wait, even better idea. We can make an organic version of like the Stepford, an organic, let's call it, I don't know, for lack of a better term, human being, like a woman. We'll say woman as a short term.
Sure.
You could have an organic version.
Yeah.
And she could carry the child the whole time.
Okay.
Awesome to have sex with.
All right.
I feel like it works.
I feel like you're introducing ethical things that you don't even realize you're introducing.
Yeah,
I feel like we're doubling down. But you do bring up an interesting point.
Well.
One of the reasons that this technology is being studied so much in China is China actually, surrogacy is banned by law. You cannot carry.
I did not know that.
You cannot carry a child for somebody else. So that's kind of that's a dystopian little variable that we have to add into this too, right? Is like, I feel like a lot of the time, surrogacy is a big deal, or adopting from somebody who is already pregnant is a big deal. And in China, that's not an easy thing to do.
No, I'm in favor of this technology if it can allow folks who are incapable of having children and desperately want to have them. I think that it would be a beautiful thing, but I feel like there's got to be a way that isn't. I mean, I guess the AI is there to be the 24/7 watchdog, but you'd want to find some sort of holistic version of this that allows the parents to have a lot of contact and affection throughout the gestation of the child. I don't know. It's such a complicated.
Do you think you would love the child less if you saw it during the entire process? Like, if you saw the actual Goopy Soup forming of a child and you were like, weird, I know what you looked like when you were a weird clump of things.
I mean, I guess you're right. There's no universe where you make these and they're not translucent, right?
I mean,
you don't make the opaque one.
But I mean, most people I know are opaque.
Yes.
So it probably would have to be.
You get the.
But there's you'd have to have like a little viewing window for sure, because who wouldn't want? I mean, you'd want to see.
You got to see it.
You got to see.
I mean, you
got to see the baby. Come see the baby.
You pay so much
and the
for those
baby
3D.
Is just a lump in a weird tube.
The whole new trend now in the last few years, when we were having our kids, was the 3D picture of your baby in utero that they can do with the what's that thing called? Angiogram? What's that called?
Yeah. And they take the 3D one, and then you can get it done in like a crystal and put on a keychain.
Yeah. You can get it fully 3D printed.
That's so weird.
And it's horrific. I mean, it's horrific. I don't understand it. But
so weird. It reminds me of.
Go. I mean, now you have a little. You pay the extra $5 and you get a peek into the Goopy Soup Boop. You know, like raises the opaque shield.
Yeah.
For a second.
Oh my God, I love it.
There he is. There's Junior. There he is.
Where he's that thing there that looks like you got a little bit of the little bit of the bread roll in your water.
Yeah. Yep.
That's him.
That's him. Doesn't he look just like your bread roll?
Actually, I think I may have dropped a bread roll in there. That's why we need to get the AI going. It's supposed to be a clean environment, but I got hungry, and the guy who was supposed to come relieve me didn't come.
In your defense, they did order the synthetic child with unlimited bread rolls. It's a bundle we offer here.
The tour of Italy.
You know, because when you're here, you're making family.
Hey, do you think it's easy to come up with a joke like that? Well, shut up, because it's not. That's why we have a Patreon, so you can support. Jeff was whiteboarding that joke for 3.5 weeks. The writer's room environment here is very, very intense, and we put in very long hours. And, the only way we support the show is through your donations on Patreon. That's patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
Yeah. Thank you for those, by the way. Those of you that are already patrons, thank you. We don't thank them enough.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thank you. Why would I be a patron, you say? That's a little defensive, and I'm gonna take it down a notch and say, I fully understand. Let's go through it. For $1 or more every month, you get access to our Discord server. Tons of amazing concerned citizens there. We're all chatting about stuff. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. Yeah. It's a wonderful place to be.
Most of the stories we do on the show come from that Discord. You can get a sneak peek into some of the coolest stories or some of the stories that we didn't pick for episodes, all there in the Science News channel.
That's right.
Lots of cool stuff.
And as you raise your donation, you get a little bit more. $3 gets you a bonus show every week. That's our opening conversation that we have before the show, where we talk about much more like pop culture, general stuff, whatever's going on. It's a lot of fun. It's like a chill hangout, and we enjoy it. We hope you will too. For $5 a month, you start getting all kinds of additional bonus videos and bonus episodes with past guests and all future guests. It just keeps going. If you'd like to support the show and support us, we would really appreciate it. Just head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
Anthony, when you think about the dawn of life on this planet, I wonder if you think about it like I think about it, where you imagine a prehistoric Earth, ancient Earth, and you imagine the little diagram of the evolution of species. Or you have a single cell organism climbing out of the water and developing, little tadpole body and little legs. And you imagine it, and you imagine Earth just sort of being this Goldilocks planet that allowed there to be oceans with all of this vibrant life teeming inside it eventually. And that life eventually crawled out of the oceans, and we yada a little bit. And then here we are.
A perfectly kept aquarium.
Perfectly kept aquarium. That's right. Well, that's how I have always thought about Earth. And yet here comes this article submitted on our Discord by our friend Z Synergy Mansfield.
Shout out to Synergy.
Synergy, always bringing top tier stories. This is an article that points to a paradox. We love paradoxes here at We Have Concerns.
Ooh, baby.
We love a paradox. This is a
paradox
also, that has.
We hate a paradox.
Ooh, we hate a paradox here at We Have Concerns. Oof.
Think about it.
But we love it. This is a paradox that sort of first started being discussed in the 1960s because late 50s, early 60s. In 1958, a German-American astrophysicist by the name of Martin Schwarzschild teamed up with a British astronomer named Fred Hoyle, whose Book of Games I love.
Love Hoyle's Book of Games.
They separately arrived at the same conclusion that based on how a star works, where hydrogen fuses into helium, producing energy.
At a temperature of millions of degrees.
Yeah, and over time, the hydrogen decreases, the core shrinks, and that boosts the fusion rate. The star gets brighter and brighter and hotter over time. So these two physicists, astrophysicists, or an astrophysicist and an astronomer, I should say, in 1958, both came to the same conclusion.
Which one do you respect more?
Ooh, I got to go astrophysicist, right?
Sounds more complicated, right?
It does.
I feel like there's just as much complicated math in being an astronomer, though.
Probably true.
I feel like we don't give that. I feel like we don't give it enough.
I'd be hard pressed to know the difference. Really, honestly, what's the difference between an astrophysicist and an astronomer? And if they both walked into a bar,
I was going to say, what's the punchline? I'm ready.
Anyway, they both came to the same conclusion that when our sun first formed,
which, by the way, we haven't decided that we're doing that yet. This episode is not about that. Jeff and I may or may not be having a son.
Yeah, no, well, but when our son is first formed,
or daughter, we're happy. We just want it to be
exactly.
We just want it to be happy and healthy in the goop.
Regardless, that the star at the center of our galaxy was about 30% dimmer 4.5 billion years ago when our solar system came into being.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I've never thought about it, but yes, there is a life cycle of a star.
Right.
And it turns
into get hotter and hotter and hotter until they burn out.
Right.
That's what happens.
I've thought about
hotter and hotter and hotter.
I've thought about the heat death of the sun quite a bit.
Right.
But I didn't.
Exactly. That's what happens.
Yeah. It didn't occur to me that
the other direction is also true.
Right. It hasn't been just the sun, like just statically in the same. No. Okay. Yeah.
Guess what? 30% dimmer sun at the center of our galaxy means that our Earth, 4.4 billion years ago, would have been -7 degrees Celsius.
Wait.
The entire planet.
Wait. Is that real?
So.
Wait, is that, Jeff, is that real?
That's what they say. And so we also have evidence that liquid water was on the surface of our Earth 4.4 billion years ago. How could liquid water be on the Earth 4.4 billion years ago if the entire planet was below freezing? It seems impossible. This is the paradox.
Whoa.
So
okay, right. Immediately, let's brainstorm. Let's blue sky solutioneer this. What could there be? There would have had to be another heat source. Maybe the core of the Earth was warmer back then because it was a newer planet. Maybe there was another star at that time that was close enough to give some other sort of background heater radiation. Maybe big blanket.
Well, I think what you're looking for is, you were kind of close with the first one. The solution that actually in the 60s, Carl Sagan, our boy,
never heard of him,
and George Mullen.
George Mullen was a big producer. He was called the Fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
Created the wall of sound.
Yeah, it was awkward because it was John, Paul, George, Ringo, and George.
Yeah.
It's hard having two Georges.
That's why they kicked him out.
It's can only be one George, as we know from the Highlander. Anyway, so Carl and George got on this problem in 1972, and they said, hey, it's probably because there was something in the atmosphere that made it thicker and worked basically like a big blanket that held in the heat. Basically, greenhouse gases.
Change in atmosphere.
So, greenhouse gases held in the heat so that the dimmer sun could heat it more slowly, but it would hold in the heat so that it would make sure that the oceans were still oceans and
because
not
there would have been
cubes.
Less or different life, so it would the oxygen carbon dioxide whole cycle that we're in wouldn't have like affected the atmosphere as much. Yeah, okay, different atmosphere. Yeah, sure.
So the Sagan and Mullen
Our atmosphere is mostly
that
nitrogen.
Well, they suggested that the thing in the atmosphere that may have been the heating factor was ammonia. But that got disproven several years later because ammonia is destroyed by solar ultraviolet radiation. So the sun itself would have destroyed the ammonia in the atmosphere. So later on, much later on, the new theory is that there was much more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere early on. And this is actually corroborated by studies of meteors and comets that move through the atmosphere, or meteors really, that move through the atmosphere. And you can see as they move through the atmosphere, you can date that time that they move through the atmosphere and see how much carbon dioxide was in the atmosphere. And it turns out it was a hell of a lot more. 70% carbon dioxide compared to like 0.04% now.
So it's just what we're seeing now. It's literally what we're seeing now.
Big greenhouse gas heated the planet, but it was a time that the planet needed it,
right?
Because it would have been an ice ball planet if it didn't have that.
Right. So there was so much heat from the dimmer sun because of these greenhouse gases that it turned our ice planet. It took the ice planet and fucking melted the ice and made it a livable planet. And now we're going to fry.
Exactly. Because the sun is 30% hotter now.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing here, there's a lot of crazy things here.
Sure.
But one of the crazy things here is that how did we get so much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? Well, the theory is volcanoes. Volcanoes, there's so much volcanic activity that it shot tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, preventing the Earth from freezing over. But get this, we also know that the Earth did freeze over at least 3 times. So there is something that actually can release the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that happens periodically. And that has happened enough over the, billions of years of Earth history that, 3 billion years ago, or is it 3 billion years ago? 2.4 billion years ago, glaciers pushed all the way to the equator. So this is what they call the snowball Earth event.
Whoa.
And basically there's this thing called rock weathering, which means that silicate rock on land and in the seafloor pushes carbon dioxide, or pulls it out of the atmosphere. And they did it enough that the Earth wasn't hot enough anymore. It wasn't insulated to keep in the heat from the much cooler, dimmer sun, the weaker sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Earth froze over. Well, it was really cold and really cold and really cold. And then the Earth became luminous enough, about 80% of where it is now, to melt the water again, melt the ice.
Oh, Lordy. We're in the middle of one of these cycles right now.
Yeah.
And we're speeding it up.
It's really long.
Oh, we're speeding it up, baby.
Well, so all of that, I tell you all of that, which is all of the prevailing theories that we've had up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you all of that to get to the news item here, which is a new paper that came out in November of 2021.
Actually, Jeff, I hate to do this to you. I think it's newspaper.
No, those don't exist anymore.
I hate to do that to you here as we're recording live.
No, it's a new paper. Okay. Actually, no paper was involved. It was all on the internet.
Oh, okay. Go on.
I hate to tell you. Those don't exist. November 2021, Renee Heller of the Max Planck Institute for Solar System Research in Germany came up with a new theory that they believe actually solves this paradox in full, because they say, check this out. Shortly after, at a certain point, this celestial body about the size of Mars hit Earth. This is, billions and billions of years ago, about 4+ billion years ago, well before any life was on this planet. There was no life at all.
Okay.
It was just a big rock. And this celestial body hit Earth, which created the moon. A big chunk of Earth knocked off, and that created the moon.
Okay.
And when it created the moon was about 15 times closer to Earth than it is now. Giant ass moon in the sky.
Yeah. It's going to change everything. It's going to change gravity. It's going to change all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. So this is the core of the theory, which is the moon's gravity creates enormous tidal waves, like 2 kilometers above this magma planet. It's a super hot Earth at that point.
Big deal. I could surf that. I could surf it easy.
And you could totally surf that.
I could surf that so easy, dude.
You'd rock that wave.
I'd
but
thrash, dude.
I know you would. Yeah, you'd thrash. Toes on the nose. And then it causes not just these tidal waves on the surface of the Earth, but literally the gravity affects the core of the Earth, creating what they call tidal heating.
Yeah.
Which doesn't completely account for the younger, fainter Earth problem or sun problem. Excuse me, the faint young sun problem, as they call it. But it helps it quite a bit. So the Earth is being heated not only because of the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, but because the moon was closer and yanking its gravity was disturbing the core of the Earth and causing the Earth to be heated from the inside out.
Whoa. Okay. Warm water,
Pretty
tasty
wild.
waves.
And
I could surf it.
You could surf it.
I could surf it easy.
And we have modeled this not just on Earth, but also on Venus and Mars. And the crazy thing is that Venus, this could never have happened. We know that the planet was never cool enough to support liquid water. It was too hot, even with a 30% dimmer, fainter sun. So Venus out.
Okay.
But check this out, dude. Mars, which we now, because we've had rovers land on it, we're seeing evidence of having rivers and lakes on its surface. About 3.7 billion years ago, is farther from the sun. So the paradox is back because we don't have any idea how it's possible that Mars could have had water.
Right.
So that long ago, 3.7 billion years ago, we figured out like all these crazy things that could have happened to make Earth have that water, but it doesn't appear to have been possible for Mars to have it at the same time. So,
and it doesn't, and I mean, the change in the sun's heat and everything over time doesn't, like, there's no way to apply a slightly different timeline to Mars where this works.
It says ancient Mars would have required at least twice the greenhouse effect. So they just don't think that that's likely.
Huh.
There has to be some other explanation as to why Mars seems to have had lakes and rivers at this, 3.7 billion years ago.
Wow. Man, so we're right back to not knowing anything.
Well, we know more about Earth. We just don't know why it seems like that makes sense for Earth, but not Mars.
Right. But like, if it makes sense for Earth, but not Mars,
it might not be the right explanation.
It's probably the wrong, like, because you're putting one variable in a box and you're solving for that one variable, but there are other variables that need to be solved for at the same time, right? So,
yeah.
But I mean, like, are they thinking, well, this is pretty likely there's just so much we don't know about Mars?
That's the truth, yes. There's just so much we don't know about Mars.
Seems like a cop-out.
That's the problem.
Probably the astronomer.
Because we haven't been there as long.
Yeah, the astrophysicist was probably like, I don't know, man. Like, this doesn't seem like we solved it. And the astronomer's like, we just don't know about Mars, dude. Publish.
Yeah.
This is why we respect the astrophysicist more.
Yeah, I think you're right. But the coolest thing is
the astronomer's work ethic. That's the problem, Jeff. You asked what the difference between the two of them is, and it's literally just work ethic.
Yeah, if an astronomer worked harder, they'd be an astrophysicist. I think that's what we've decided.
We don't know anything about anything.
And if we worked harder, we'd be anything other than podcasters.
I don't know if there's a feud between astronomers and astrophysicists, but I'd like to start one.
Oh, I bet we have some astronomers and some astrophysicists listening.
I'd like them to
love
fight.
for them to email us.
I would like them to fight
for our entertainment.
I'd like them to go into the street and fight. And what else do I have to say to make that happen? With your your slide rules and your astrolabes or whatever it is you carry around.
Do you think if an astronomer punched an astrophysicist, they'd see stars?
Heyo. So what's next for this? Do we accept this theory? Do we take it and continue moving forward with it as the prevailing theory, or do we look at the Mars thing and go, we gotta start all over?
No, this is the prevailing theory for Earth, but they got to figure out what was going on with Mars. Maybe it was something completely different.
Seems like such a fucking cop out.
But it's so cool because it basically tells you that.
Seems like such a cop out though, dude.
I know, but only 150 million years after our solar system formed, which is literally 4.5 billion years ago, we had a habitable planet, which is it is so ridiculously improbable. Like this is the thing that gobsmacked me about this story is that I thought it was already improbable to have a Goldilocks planet, but it's so much more improbable because we weren't even really a Goldilocks planet because the sun wasn't hot enough yet to be one. We would have been a snowball planet with no life, but just like this fluke of so many crazy things.
The amount of luck, the amount of galactic luck that we have had. That's the thing that is unbelievably crazy to me is, it's like you're saying, we're the only planet that we know with life. So already we are the most improbable thing. Everything, it's ridiculous. Anything else you tell me about us is like, it doesn't, like, of course, because we have not found anything else like us. So immediately it's like, yeah, of course, we're dumb and improbable and we shouldn't have happened. But the more we find out about it, the more it's like, holy shit, man.
Exactly. So what these guys are saying is that we just happen to be hit by something that knocked enough of us off, enough of this planet off to form a moon that just happened to be close enough to cause a heat shift, that just happened to stir enough volcanic activity, that just happened to heat the planet just enough to create enough time where it was habitable for life to start to emerge. Like, it's just so... it's hard to wrap your head around.
God's just a stoner at an aquarium, dude. Albert Einstein said that.
Yeah, he did. And if you don't believe us, join the Patreon because you will.
That's right. All the proof you need is on the Patreon for anything you've ever needed to know.
That's right.
Just give us $1. We'll tell you. We're like the most annoying kids at school. I know a secret.
Yeah.
Give me $1. But no, this is, it's wild. It's wild. Every time we find out more and more about the number of variables. I mean, this is why people say, the more they learn about the universe, the more in awe of it they are. There's this whole thing where it's like, I don't know. I feel like you get this feeling like, oh, if I learn too much about how things work, I'm no longer interested, or they don't seem magical, or they don't seem... No, people are always like, the more you learn about the Earth, the more you learn about the universe, the more you're like, how are we even? How are we even?
It totally shatters my like little imagination about how Earth was. Because, there were times when it was completely frozen over. There were times when it was, there's steam Earth. It could have been steam Earth if it was too hot where oceans couldn't survive.
And all the dinosaurs wearing goggles and top hats.
Steam Earth.
Imagine.
The little clockwork robots on trains all the time.
I was born at the wrong time. I was supposed to be a clockwork dinosaur. No, but I love this. I love it. Like, yeah.
It's so cool.
Just the fact that now, because I think that's something that's so, this whole thing started with something that's so obvious and easy that we mostly don't think about because we're never asked to think about it, which is we know the sun is dying, but we don't think about how the sun has changed throughout its life. Like, we're not asked to.
Yeah. The sun, we know the sun's getting hotter, but that means it was cooler. You know? Like that's the part that I never really grokked.
I love it. I love it. Thank you to Synergy for sending that in. If you've seen a story that you believe will blow our fragile little minds, you can send it in to us. There are a few ways to do so. You can email it to us at wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. You can leave it on the subreddit. That's wehaveconcerns.reddit.com. And you can also leave it in that Discord. And if you want to join the Discord, you already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It's patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.
Do it. Check it out. Support the show.
Jeff has a very easy goal for us to reach.
Yes. It's simply 100% conversion from listenership to patron. And it feels like a very attainable thing. If you or anyone you know has ever listened to the show, just give us a $1.
That's it. It's that easy.
It's simple.
He's a simple man with simple needs.